back. WNST, Tassel, Baltimore, and Baltimore Positive. We are positively into I took the week off last week, so I get back into it this week, and I wind up getting long-winded. And I'm usually like on vacation Valentine's week. I usually try to avoid the 3 inches of ice and the 8 inches of snow and all of that. I've lived here long enough to learn that this is the weekend. I don't ski, but I love me a beach. But being a little landlocked, it's made me nostalgic, and especially the 2-year lease extension for the Orioles, and just sort of like trying to find something normal a year into this play. Leonard Raskin loves sports. Loves taking care of people's money and finance and the market and all of that, but also loves hockey. And Leonard, I've been talking to lots of people this week because I really haven't done any college basketball of any note. I haven't really watched a lot. I haven't been watching hockey the way I once did. And I'm trying to what's the old Barry Manilow song? I've been up, down, trying to get that feeling again. And, when it comes to the Orioles, then the Orioles fan graph comes out on Tuesday. And look,
yeah, what is that?
More critical or hard on or held them to account more than I with the Orioles, as I hold all my old Orioles ticket stubs up for everybody this week. But 0.0, I mean, that's not what you want to buy, dude, right?
I saw that. I said to myself when I saw that, I said, wait a minute. It's like the old joke about the Mets. The joke about the Mets was, it's April 15th, you pay your taxes, they're out of the race. I'm thinking to myself, wait a minute. The O's have a 0.0% chance of making the playoffs? Is that what it was? It was making the playoffs. It wasn't even
I had
winning.
Schuler on earlier, and he's more of a gambling guy than I am. And, Pete's into this too. It's you bet 10,000 that they don't make the playoffs, like a put, right? And you win $100. So I did. It took me a few minutes. There's a lot of zeros, right? So I'm like, if I had $1 million, which made me sing the Bare Naked Lady song, I'm not going to do that again. I'd rather sing a different Bare Naked Lady song. But you would win $10,000 for a $1 million bet and tie your money up for, I guess, 6 months, right?
Yeah,
The odds are going to change before April 1st.
But that was 0.0 that they make the playoffs. It wasn't 0.0 that they win the World Series. It was they even shoot in as a backdoor wild card, some kind of crazy way they make it in the dance there at the end. And I'm thinking to myself, wow, this isn't even April 15th. We haven't even filed our taxes yet, and we're out of it according to the world at large. That just seems stunning to me that there's zero chance.
Well,
what was it? Dumb and Dumber, right? And Dumb and Dumber. So you're saying we have a chance? No, we're saying you have no chance.
No chance. No chance. Don't show up. Don't play today. Don't play 2. Don't play 3. I've done a lot of baseball talk this week because, it's a little downtime for the Ravens, and I think this is an evaluative time where they say, how many days till pitchers and catchers report? I mean, Leonard, I don't know where your ticket stubs are, and we can talk about this. And I know you told me you grew up, on the wrong side of the tracks, and folks didn't have a whole lot of money to take you to the game. And I assure you, my folks didn't have a whole lot of money either. I have the rain checks for $1.50, and it's every ticket I have is my dad and I's. My dad had the senior tickets. I hold them all up here, and I had the child tickets. And my dad was a senior citizen, So we saved dough back in the day. I only have in all my collection of tickets, I have 2 box seats I ever sat in. And I've told the story a few times this week. My Venezuelan uncle worked at Chesapeake Cadillac in 1975 and got the corporate seats. And when I hold these tickets up, it's amazing because lower box BB B5 in 1975, Brooks Robinson was right there. So was, Billy Hunter. And when you're 7 years old, it makes you still collect these damn things 47 years later, right?
There you go. I'll tell you, I do remember my birthday's in October.
So is mine.
We talked about that, I believe. So I remember you talk about uncle and aunt. I think my aunt and uncle got me tickets, and they took me to the playoffs, the John Lowenstein
79 playoffs
field,
or 83 playoffs? 79, all right.
When he went down and was carried off, sat up on the gurney, the big salute.
I was there that night as well. That was in the season. And
what a great game. What
The
a great
playoffs, he
game.
had a home run. He had a big home
Yeah.
run.
Yeah.
And, Brother Lowe, right? So
Yep.
where are
Yep.
you on the Orioles continuum? And I'm going to lead this into maybe a political conversation, but certainly a city conversation, because we talked about this week with the lease, okay?
Yep.
And
2
Marty
years.
Conway and I did
2
56 minutes. I
years.
mean, nobody knows more than Marty Conway. He was Edward Bennett Williams' right-hand guy, along with Larry Lucchino, getting Camden Yards built. He ran the Rangers for George W. Bush in the 90s. So nobody knows more than Marty. I mean, I only bring the most intelligent people on here, and that's why you're associated with me, Leonard. We've talked about what the next thing's going to be, and the anchors of this city being the Inner Harbor in 80. You talk about 79, and your
Yep.
parents brought you down to the Science Center and the aquarium. And then we talk about what baseball did and keeping the baseball team, and all of that money appropriated to something that was a ugly old rail yard. You know what I mean?
Yep.
An ugly
Yep.
old century-old rail yard
Best
that
park in the bigs.
ingenuity, smart people, corporate money, TIFs, taxes, black people, white people, councilmen, mayors, governors, Republicans, Democrats, old people, young people, rich people, poor people, all said, you know what? We got to keep this baseball team. Wait, it's going to help. It's going to bring Steve DeCastro here with Bruce Chris. It's going to bring business here. It's what's going to percolate Phillips. It's what's going to percolate the harbor. It's what's going to get room taxes. It's what's going to bring conventions here. All of that. You know what, Leonard? They were right. You know what I mean? Like the forefathers that saw that, it worked. Nothing works forever. Lambeau Field didn't work forever. Fenway Park didn't work forever, right? Like things don't work forever. This is where I think Baltimore positive, and I come out of the ashes of this sports thing here, right? And the plague, where one of the really important things that I'm going to talk about around here is what are we going to do with the harbor? What are we going to do with the baseball team to keep it here? Because the real story here isn't it's money, but it's really the inertia that's going to make it relevant again, and what's going to happen to keep it relevant above and beyond whoever owns it next and what they're going to need to do in repairing whatever damage has been done, certainly corporately.
Look, you lost the Bullets. You never had a pro NHL hockey team. You had the Clippers, Skipjacks, after them.
I found my puck, by the way. I'm going to bring that on.
I remember the Clipper days. So going way back, and when you lose that, and then you lose the Bullets, who become the Wizards. Nice shift. I don't know about that, but anyway, talk for another day. You start to not be a major league town, and I think the Orioles, if anything happened there, I don't think it's people don't see what that's really all about. I mean, it's civic pride. It's like you said, it's a combination of you can be sitting in the bleachers. Well, we don't have bleachers, but in the outfield seats or the upstairs upper deck row when that place is rocking. And just what you said, man, you could be next to a Republican, a Democrat, a white guy, a black guy, an Asian guy, a poor guy, a rich guy. It doesn't matter.
Yankees fan?
You're right. God forbid. You're talking baseball. You're there talking Orioles baseball. You're not thinking. You're not. There's no division. The division is if you're sitting next to the Yankee fan or the Red Sox fan. And
which happened all too often last 30 years.
Right. And God forbid those Yankee or Red Sox fans are from Baltimore. That really ticks me off. If a guy jumps on the Amtrak, he jets on down for the day, he rolls on down, he's got his Red Sox cap on and his garb, and he came in from Boston, and he's, like you said,
Watch yourself. You're wearing Ohio State stuff. You're going to have to explain yourself.
I got it, baby. But the guy comes into town, and he's got his garb, and he's spending a weekend at the hotel, and he's eating at the harbor, and he's bringing revenue to the city, and it's easier to get into Camden Yards than to Fenway Park. God bless him for supporting his team.
He's coming here to see Ohio State play Navy over at the stadium or something, right?
There you go. We travel. We're here. We're traveling with the Ravens. How many times, other than, and I don't even know, maybe playoffs, World Series, how many times you travel with the Orioles?
Well, there was an industry for that when I began doing this 30 years ago. And this, Leonard, I'm not telling you anything you don't know. My passion for sports led me to do a walkout on the owner where I bet my career, my radio station, my life, and my reputation that some change needed to happen in order to make baseball relevant here. And 15 years later, I tell you, there's nothing I'm more proud of in my life for having done than doing it and shining a light on changes that were not made, and now we're 15 years later, and we're up on this lease. I've lived long enough to sadly say, "Told you so." But I don't want to say "told you so."
What's the 2 years about? Do you get that? I mean, the people that know surely know better than me. You surely know better than me.
It's kicking the can a little bit because you can't get the kind of deal done that they would want done. Leonard, this is where I've gone with it all.
Is that like a franchise tag? Is that what we did? We franchise tagged the stadium for 2 years. We'll come back to it.
No, I don't think in the plague you're going to go to the government and get what you want. So I don't know. You've done a lot of traveling, and I want to get back to your provincial nature. So don't let me let that get away, because I want to go back to you don't like the Yankees fan sitting next to you from Middle River, right? I get that. And ditto me, right? So to me, that's what bore out the Orioles being here and the Ravens being here in the first place was I love Baltimore. I will fight for Baltimore. Dare I say that in this political environment? But I want to say this about the land, okay? And the Angeloses, and I'm not even trying to kick the old man or the kids at this point, but at some point, it's Jack Nicholson in The Shining. You've had your whole life to think about the end of the lease and what the next thing is. And this is fascinating. And Marty Conway didn't bring this up, but I was thinking it as he was ranting and being smart, and I encourage everyone to go to Baltimore Positive and check that out. But I was thinking about this. Angelos didn't get to pick anything. Angelos bought the team the year after everything was built, right? So he inherited everything, screwed everything up. I mean, including the Oriole Way and Cal Ripken. He screwed everything up, right? And I have Janet Marie coming on later to talk about the statues and some of the good things that are left for. And I don't even say the next owner. The next owner might be John and Lou. It might be Mama Bear. It might be some rich guy we've never heard of, right? Or some conglomerate, right? Out of Asia. Who knows, right? Whatever the next ownership is for the Baltimore Orioles, for the Orioles that will be played in Baltimore and owned, all of these different parts exist now. There wasn't a football team in the parking lot when he bought the team. There wasn't a baseball team that was a world championship team with more revenue in a better circumstance 38 miles away. So all of these moving parts that if you own the team, and I don't know if you've seen the St. Louis Beer Complex. I'm sure you've seen the Philadelphia one. You know, the thing that sits in the Xfinity thing there. That's the bar. You've seen what they've done at Fenway Park, or at least know about it. You know about the parking and all the stuff in Wrigleyville. You've seen that they moved a failed stadium that was an Olympic stadium with Muhammad Ali to a mall in the Owings Mills of Atlanta and built an entire White Marsh Avenue around it. You've seen these projects. You've been to New England with me. You've seen the mall next to the football stadium.
Yep.
Where's the vision? You know, I'm just going to leave it at that. I've said a lot, and I've said it a lot this week. But Governor Schaefer for the harbor and for the sun, all that stuff when we were kids, we were talking about 1979. And then the vision of this failed train thing, right, that they've made into something really repurposed and useful.
Yeah.
There needs to be a vision for what's going to glue. And it's not that casino, by the way, which is a bad
I was going to say they're trying to do it on the south side of M&T.
Well, go ahead. Give me some ideas here. I mean, Leonard, I'll tell you this. You mentioned losing the hockey team and the basketball team. I can show you out at the radio station, I have the plans for probably 5 or 6 different arena plans.
Yeah,
arenas.
Yep.
Right? Ed Hale was going to build in Timonium. There's been 5 different. We're going to nuke what's on Baltimore Street and build something and attract the hockey. All this, you know, but there have been ideas at least.
Absolutely.
People have done studies. Where are we in doing this for the city so that we can have more than ticket stubs from 1979? By the way, there's a 79 ticket stub there.
There you go. Well, I'm with you. I mean, you've got a young, should we say hip, mayor, right?
Okay, fair enough. He likes baseball. He brags about baseball.
He's into the what's the word I want to use? Resurrection of the city. Is that the right word?
Well, that's a good thing that he wants to do that. That's the first thing is to want to do it.
He's put out a lot of messaging. I think if he can get the city. Look, there's a lot of people, and you and I have talked about this. You're there every day. You're in the city. I'm in the county. But there are people
I own land here. And
I'm saying there are people that I talk to that aren't interested in going to the city. And their experience these days, now granted, we've got the pandemic, so things are a little crazy, but let's say pre-pandemic, their experience of Baltimore City is, I go to a Ravens game, I go home. I go to an Oriole game, I go home. They're not interested in going to restaurants. They're not interested in going to bars. They're scared of crime in the city. And they don't want to
And by
spend
the way,
time
I
with their
walk around the
family and
city
their
every day
kids
of my
down
life
there.
for 17 years. And, I live here, and
Yep.
it's better than they make it out to be on television.
Of course. We had the conversation months ago when they talked about The Wire on Monday night, Sunday Night Football, whatever it was. That was ridiculous. But that's
That's what we have to dig out of, right?
Yeah, some people's image of that. And I think the mayor and the council, they got to step up and say, okay, we got to put the people in a room. We got to get whoever the now new next group is that's going to be running the Orioles. We got to sit in a room together with business leaders. I mean, I've sat in the room with the number of business leaders from the community talking about renovating and new construction and building and all kinds of things in the city. And there's great things going on there. And there's a number of groups trying what you're doing, talking about how to make the image of the city different than what's out there on the national news.
Well, it needs to be done. I mean, it has to be done.
That's it. It's got to be done. And so you need civic leaders, you need business leaders, you need good ambassadors. You talked about Schaefer. Who doesn't remember him jumping in the seal tank when the aquarium was new? That's an iconic image of Baltimore when he
with a rubber ducky.
That's right, and that's a big deal. And that's the kind of thing you need to perk up. And my son doesn't know anything about any of that. My son has seen one season. He's 18. The Ohio State. There he is. That's where he is. So he's
how much that shirt cost?
I don't know. Probably about $32,000 a year or something. Up after scholarship, it's about 32.
And a free gift.
And a free shirt. But yeah, he loved it. First day we dropped him off at campus. I digress. He says, "Dad, look," he knew this going in, "I get a free iPad." I said, "Dude, there ain't no free iPad. We pay for the iPad.
It's itemized."
Right. They just give it to you as part of the tuition and fees.
My wife and I, every time we look at hotel rooms now, there's the resort fee.
Yes. And you get your free newspaper at your front door every day that you don't read.
Campus activities, the student activity
exactly. Student activity fee. I asked them, look, it's $250 a semester to use all the athletic whatever. I said to him, can I take that off? My son is never going to step foot in this room. I'll pay double for the library.
Hey, man, I don't watch half of my cable channels, but I'm paying for it,
Right.
I haven't watched Masson in a year and a half, but Uncle Pete's getting $2 from me.
No a la carte on this thing. But yeah, we got to put people together and say, let's make this thing happen. Let's talk about what's next and have that vision. And here's what I know. There's a great book, if you've never read it, called The Wisdom of Crowds.
Okay. I'm Googling that right now.
Wisdom
I love
of Crowds.
this. Go ahead. Wisdom of Crowds.
And it gives you, as a perfect example for the wisdom of crowds, is going out to Pimlico and bet on the horses. If one person bets, who the heck knows who's going to win, who's going to lose, what are the odds? The more people that bet, there's a reason there's a favorite, because the wisdom of crowds comes in and says, these are who are going to be the winners. And you get better answers when you don't have a singular leader deciding that this is the way we're going to do things. And I would say, for the Orioles' future and for Baltimore's future and the next whatever that is, that's what we need. We need people from different walks of life, citizens, and by citizens, what I mean is not political citizens, and business leaders, civic leaders, citizen community. And you need to step up and say, this is how it could be done best. I think so many things could be done better if you got the wisdom of the masses involved, the stakeholders that have something to say about it and that it has an effect on, and get them out there and you come up with better solutions than one guy who says, this is the way you do it.
Leonard Raskin works in the world of money at Raskin Global, and you can find him at raskinglobal.com, and gives good books. By the way, I have the book up here, The Wisdom of Crowds, James Surowiecki. In this fascinating book, New Yorker business columnist James Surowiecki explores a deceptively simple idea. Large groups of people are smarter than an elite few, no matter how brilliant, better at solving problems, fostering innovation, coming to wise decisions, even predicting the future. I think that's what scientists do. Like, they all get
There you go.
together and they put all the best wisdom together, and then we should go listen to that. So go get your vaccines as well. Tell everybody what you do money-wise in I guess crowdsourcing is a little bit of the wisdom of how the market works a little bit, right? Is
Absolutely.
where we're all betting and where we think the smart money is going to go, right?
That's exactly right. When it comes to investing, you've got 7 billion people on this planet making buying and selling decisions. A simple example, here's an iPhone. So the iPhone wouldn't be all it is, and Apple wouldn't be the company they were and are if people didn't think that was the product that they wanted. And to his credit, back in the day, Steve Jobs, he wasn't interested in what people were thinking they needed. His idea, his vision was to put something in people's hands they couldn't do without. Music in your pocket that you couldn't live without. And the iPod was born, and music in your pocket was born. And now, this thing has everything and more that Radio Shack ever sold except a printer in my hand. And that's just
come on now. I grew up in the
thing.
70s, right? So, like, just getting a calculator to cheat on your math. Like, I've never understood. Once the watches had calculators on them, with the little numbers, it was like over. And then they introduced me to algebra and tried to screw me up,
Yeah,
But
exactly.
I mean, the notion that a calculator, when you think about video cameras back in the 60s, Super 8 tape and then VHS and cost to entry, that all of this, your kid was born with this, right? Like,
that's exactly right.
Never knows where I have a phone over here that I can, this kind of phone,
Yeah, no idea what that is. He has no idea. They asked, they gave kids in high school, college, they gave them dial phones, and they asked them what to do. The kids were like, "How do you?"
It's like giving a monkey a phone
here?
And trying to figure out how to make it work. What do I do with this? What does buttons mean?
The wisdom of the world sets the prices for and buys companies that they believe are valuable, and those stocks do well. And over the long term, you invest in the broad spectrum of the market of stocks, and you will see your assets grow in value. And you have to protect those dollars as you grow them. In the ancient past, shall we say, the wealthy knew they were wealthy. The poor knew the wealthy were wealthy because they had big castles on top of hills with moats around them, and their wealth was on great display. And the peasants tried to take it, and the king next door tried to take it, and you had to survive. Today, it's called taxes, it's called inflation, it's called lawsuits, and you have to have insurance and an abundance of care about your money to make sure that you don't lose it. So we make sure that you have the wealth you want to create your American dream. And that's a worldwide American dream. It doesn't have to just be in America. We believe it's something that you can have all over the world. It's a concept, this notion of success and of dreams and of aspirations, and it's a human condition.
My wife watches all those shows where, like, people buy a little place in some remote island and move.
There you go. There you go. So the idea is, how do you grow that wealth? How do you enjoy it? How do you have what you want it do for you? And how do you protect it? Make sure it doesn't get taken away. And we do all of that. We review corporate benefits. We help business owners succeed. We help individuals succeed. And we love seeing people use their funds for the generations beyond themselves. And that is whether it's a charitable venture or a family legacy venture. We help people do the things with their money that they want for now and forever.
Number one thing people do wrong.
Spend too much.
Oh, okay. Well,
spend too much. They don't put away
and don't
enough.
know it.
Yeah, well, no, a lot of them know it. They just keep spending it, and they don't save enough. You can spend. Look, if you become a world-class saver, what is a world-class saver? Saving 15 to 20% of your gross income every year. Gross, not net. Gross. You save 15 to 20% of your gross income a year. You can get a really lousy rate of return on that money, and still never worry about, do I have enough for my future? So the good news is, in today's world, it's hard to get a lousy rate of return on your money. You should just be able to get a good average rate of return on your money. And if you put away that much money, you can spend the rest on anything you darn well please, and you will never need a thing in the world. You never have a care about what you need money for. But if you don't put away enough, you're always chasing rate of return, which means you're always risking your money. You're doing things that you hear are great to get rich quick because you need more, or you started too late and you didn't save enough early. So the idea is become a world-class saver early on and then figure out what to do with it forever. And you will never need for money. I work with people that have put away and saved 10, 20, 30% of their income for their entire lives. And they get to retirement just massively wealthy. And it's not because they were any smarter or had any secrets or knew anything that anybody else didn't know. They just put away, and it just piles up. And they never thought about it. They always had enough. The people that live well beyond their means and don't put away enough never have enough. And we're not talking about, let's be clear, we're not talking about people that don't have the money to save. Okay, so the biggest mistake, the biggest mistake people make, you don't get a great education, you don't get great career, you end up struggling and you have to fight and claw for survival. That's a different circumstance than what I'm talking about. I'm talking about people that have the wherewithal to have everything they need in life, and then they're looking for what they can do for the rest of what we're talking about: investing, insuring, protecting, growing wealth. And they just don't save it. They spend way too much money and they just don't put money away.
Give me one local restaurant I have not eaten at that I need to local. That I need a place that maybe I haven't been. Okay, not, I talk about my sponsors and I love them. I go all the time. I'll always be talking about them. But I'm just looking for a couple of tips, and I think that's going to be my new thing this month. I just want to give some free love to a local place that may be a little gem that nobody knows about.
That's a great question, man. I'm not
next
a big.
Week. Come up with it next week. I want a good shot on this.
I'll definitely have a good one for you. I'll rack my.
You'll have it in 10 minutes. You'll be texting me about it. So,
yeah, but here's the place to go.
Yeah, well, this is what I want to give some love out to people to say where are the places that you are supporting during this, because I think we're all trying to support local, right? I mean, even Wayne and Garth are supporting local in the commercials.
Yeah, how about that? That was quite hysterical. I thought that was.
Sometimes
good.
You and I are like Wayne and Garth, man. I appreciate you coming on.
Little kids.
We'll send everybody out to RaskinGlobal.com. Leonard joins us each and every week. You can find it out at the front of Baltimore Positive. We talk money. We have not talked about eating cicadas yet. We'll talk about that next week. That's been a little bit of a topic around the house here. No,
I'm not interested. No, not me. No.
What's the weirdest thing you've ever eaten?
I don't eat weird, man. I eat traditional, regular stuff.
You eat deer meat? Anything like that?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, that's kind of weird. I don't eat that.
Had bison burgers, bison steak. But
steak, crocodile. Anything like that?
How about Vegemite? Vegemite.
Oh, God, that's terrible, man. That's the worst tasting stuff in the world.
You go to Australia, you got to have, got to have it. You can't how about poi? There's another one.
So here's a weird Vegemite story.
Poi out in Hawaii.
Tastes like soap. It's terrible.
Same bad stuff.
Terrible. Poi. You know what? Poi was something that Fred Flintstone had in the Flintstones. Pass the poi, Fred. And I always wanted poi, then I had it, I didn't want it. Vegemite, you know about that because of the Men at Work song, right? Vegemite sandwich.
Because I went to Australia for my honeymoon.
Okay. So I went to Australia in 98. We went back again the first time my wife got sick. And this is a true story, and I certainly don't want to belabor my wife's cancer in any weird way. But we're pretty sure that we remember how she found out she had cancer, right? So we were seeing Bruce Springsteen in Australia, and we were at this little cottage, and it had spiders in these silver sacks, right? And we were a little weirded out. They were outside. They weren't inside. We were whatever. And my wife's like, they're just spiders, because she's hardy, much more hardy than me.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, Ness doesn't sleep with rodents, spiders, moles. Good. I don't do, I'm tenderfoot. I don't stay in the woods. I stay at the Marriott. So
Amen.
We were at this lodge, and it looked a little bit like a Howard Johnson's. We go for breakfast, and we're at the breakfast spread. And she'd been in Australia maybe a week. It was like one of our last days there, and she had not had Vegemite. And they had it on the spread. And it was in the little containers. And she's like, you know what? Get the video camera together. We're going to videotape me eating Vegemite. And it was literally the night she got bitten by the spider that became the famous thing that, like, when she got ill, that sort of let us know that she was sick, But it was that morning, and I had the camera on her, and she ate the Vegemite. And it's like the funniest screenshot ever, because whatever bitter beer taste would be, it's way over the ledge of bitter beer taste.
Oh, yeah.
You know, right?
No, it's bad.
Vegemite.
Bad.
God, that's what not to eat.
That's right. I'm with you. That's the restaurant not to go to. I'm with you 100%. 100%.
Appreciate you, Leonard. Thanks for coming on, man. We'll talk some football next week. Get back
You
on the
got
horse
it.
here. We'll figure out whether Orlando Brown's going to stick around, all right?
Pitchers and catchers reporting to sunny Florida.
Sunny. No media allowed, by the way. It said so outside.
Really?
I
Didn't
thought
know that.
that's
Didn't
been my
know
rule
that.
for a decade and a half. Y'all
Hey,
get used to
there you
it.
go. What the
Leonard
heck?
Raskin, join us. Find him at raskinglobal.com. You can find me out at BaltimorePositive.com. We are WNST.net, AM 1570, Towson, Baltimore. Having fun, telling stories, talking baseball, and other stuff. We are Baltimore Positive.